I hope you're ready. This is going to be exciting.
And the car restarts up to go. Green flag is out and we're underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. Oh, and he saves it. Oh, they're going 3 wide.
We've got a 5-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go. He's gonna win it here in spectacular fashion.
Welcome, Goat Locker race fans, to virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the halfway mark of our Operation Valor Truck Series regular season. Let's find out which driver has luck on their side tonight, or who is brave enough to roll the dice and risk it all to take home the win in race number 5. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside the V-Speed booth. As always, my name is Logan Threlkeld, and joining me is Sky Schreck as our co-commentator, with Eddie Smith behind the scenes working controls as our producer. Sky, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing good. I'm very excited. Las Vegas in the trucks is a super unique style of racing on iRacing, and I think it's going to lend itself to a really good one tonight.
And even better, it's a night race in the desert. You don't have all the heat to focus on with the tire saving. Still got some temperature out there, but Las Vegas Motor Speedway on your screen, 20 degrees of banking in the corners of this 1.5 mile track. Sky, I don't know about you. I'm really excited for this race. We've had a fantastic first 4 races so far. Surprisingly enough, we have a repeat winner already, with Jake Ham taking Iowa and Milwaukee. Patrick Drabick took home the win at Daytona to start the series. Jeremy Gardner took home the win at Kansas for that Dash for Cash race. What can you tell us a little bit about here at Las Vegas, what we're going to expect tonight?
Well, first I was going to say, check out our schedule. It's up on screen right here. We're in the 5th week there at Las Vegas. We get an off week next week before coming back in 2 weeks at Rockingham. Regular season is then going to finish out with 4 more races in March. Lime Rock Park, Darlington, Dover, and Nashville. 4 very different tracks to end out your regular season. Tonight at Las Vegas, I think we're going to see some really close racing. I think we're going to have a lot of drivers racing really tight. That's how this track tends to race in these trucks. A lot of kind of drafting style racing. It's not quite like Daytona, but it races sort of similar here over a long run at Vegas.
You're 100% correct about that. And just a quick look at the points there. Still very early in the season, so it's a long ways away before these points really start to matter when it all comes down to that postseason attempt. Right now, looking at Craig Bontrager in the 49 for his qualifying effort out here tonight. We'll see what the 49 can come around and set on the ticker on the left here. That might have been Bontrager's outlap there that we caught the end of, so we'll wait one more time around. Let's see what Craig has in store here.
They've gone down into turn 3 right now, running all the way around the top, which I don't think is going to be the fastest line here. I think we're going to see him come off this time. He'll go down to the bottom. There he goes onto the apron, and then this is going to be his flying lap right around the bottom here. So Bontrager goes dead last. That lap was a throwaway. He doesn't care what he did on that one. This is the only one that matters. He ran the top to build up more speed, and now he's going to run it low whole way around the racetrack here as we head under 2 minutes in the qualifying session. He'll stick it right back to that white line, slide a little bit up as he exits 4. And as he comes across the front straightaway, Craig Bontrager will go down to the apron, and he will jump to 2nd.
Wow, just 9 1,000ths off there. But while we have a moment, let's send it to over to our Navy vet, Jared Ashley, for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
And a big round of applause there for Jared Ashley on that rendition of the national anthem. Sky, our qualifying effort has concluded, and our Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award goes to none other than David Duke in the 78 with a 30.402 to set the pole here tonight. On his outside, we saw the lap Craig Bontrager in the 49 with a 30.411. That is also going to be tied with third place of Patrick Drabick in the 07. Michael McCarthy in the 22 starts out on the outside of the second row. In the third row, inside line, Barrett Morton will take the 9 with a 30.438. Levi McCarty on his outside in the 24. In 7th, Stephen McDonald in the 68. In the 27 of Jacob Ellingson in the 8th position. 9th goes to Jamie Mullins in the 66, and none other than Jake Ham in the 87 taking the 10th starting spot.
Outside your top 10 tonight's going to be Chuck Phelps rolling off 11th, Timothy Stubblefield in P12. James Kaufman will roll off 13th, Tyler Justice on the outside in 14th. 15th tonight's going to be Timothy Peters in the 46, Mike Browning in the 4 on the outside of row 8. Michael Kostek's going to be back there in 17th, George Jewell in the 36 in 18th. And rounding out your top 20 tonight will be Chance Taylor in the 14, James Goshen in the 85. Last two cars on the field, Matt Knights will roll off 21st and Brandon Wallace in 22nd.
That'll be our starting grid here for Las Vegas tonight, and we know the competition is fierce. Do not expect that to stay the same for very long. Just a few more seconds here until the pace truck gets rolling. one lap around, and we'll be under green flag conditions for 100 laps here in the desert. Pit road speed of just 50 miles per hour here with 4 tire sets available, 1 on the truck, 3 over the wall. 2 green-white checkered attempts at the end of this race if we need them. 100% fuel load with a Makoni fixed setup on these Craftsman trucks. Sky, we've got a little bit of time here before we get back around. We've seen Jake Ham win twice. Do we have any favorites out here that you'd like to put a spotlight on before we hit this green flag?
Well, I think Jake Ham very clearly a favorite, winning 2 races. I mentioned earlier, this track race is a little weird. It's kind of like a 1.5 mile Daytona drafting style track when you hit it in the trucks, especially when it's a cold night like tonight. That might give an advantage to the guy who won our Daytona race, Patrick Drabick, starting back there in 3rd. We'll see if he can move up to 1st over these next 100 laps.
With that said, I think I'm going to go with that 24 of Levi McCarty. It's time to see that truck up here on the podium this time this season. He's always good at these 1.5 mile tracks as well. Not a bad starting spot for this race there on the inside line, 3 rows deep. Coming out of turn number 4, the pace truck is off into the Invet's restart zone. We go. And we are away as David Duke takes the green flag tonight. Lap number 1 in the books. David Duke claims the first lap lead as we saw some 3-wide action there, 5 rows deep. Coming through turns 3 and 4. Now it's 2x2 starting for that 5th position with the 24 McCarty on the outside with a hard charge up around the 9 of Barrett Morton.
See how tight this front pack still is. Bontrager's right on the back of David Duke, and they're side by side for 3rd. Drabick on the bottom, McCarty trying to get some space on the top. And that outside's getting a little bit of a run there for that 24 car. We'll see if he's able to push the 78 out front. Not quite, but we're 2x2, 3 rows back in Vegas.
We saw Bontrager dominate that top or bottom line rather on that qualifying lap. It's no shock to see him stick it there and take this lead over. Going into turns 3 and 4, Bontrager with a decent gap there to 2nd place, and then side by side there for 3rd as it looks like McCarty's caught up to the door now of Duke.
You can see the lines starting to form here. Everybody's staying really tight together, and they will for the start of this race. The first, I'd say about 15, 20 laps or so, you're going to see these cars continue to race in this little pack-like setup. Once the tires start to wear, once the cars start to get a little bit into the run, that's when you'll see this pack space out a little more, and these guys maybe further back in the field will start to drop off into smaller 2 or 3 car packs. For now, everyone's staying all grouped up all through the field.
And meanwhile, McCarty with that move to the outside of Bontrager right before turns 3 and 4, carried the momentum around, claiming a lap lead for the 24 team, and he's still just in front of Bontrager. Nearly cleared and took a look to get down that inside line. Decided better of it. Probably a good call.
And it's impressive that he's making that top work on defense, because usually trucks in Vegas, you think the inside is the fastest line around the racetrack. But Levi McCarty showing you can make that middle work too in the early going. Same with that 27 of Jacob Ellingson, trying to use that higher line to get around Bontrager. They'll go side by side into 3.
That's going to be that benefit of the temperature on the track there, Sky. Only 82 degrees down on the surface, 80 degrees ambient air temperature. And it's only going to get cooler as the night goes on. McCarty, he is in full control right now with Bontrager and Ellingson battling it out for 2nd. Nearly contact there coming up from the bottom. Almost side by side right behind as well for Duke and Drabick.
Yeah, you mentioned it's 10:15 p.m. in Sim right now. We've still got 93 to go. That temperature's only gonna drop. McCarty's got the lead. Bontrager's now trying to run that top, get around Ellingson for second in the same way Ellingson was able to fight him. Ellingson gets a pretty decent run back down into one. That battle's not over yet.
Not at all. Bontrager trying to make the line work that McCarty just showed him. Not working out the same way for the 49. He does get some speed coming down the backstretch. Ellingson right now has the advantage of some sort of a draft coming off the back of the 24. As McCarty slides up in front of Bontrager to block that run. Drops right back down to the apron across the start-finish line. Battles forming midway through the pack there. Looks like around the 25 machine. That's going to be James Kaufman. He's got Jake Ham in the 87 to his outside. The 3 of Michael Kostick in tow of Ham. Kind of bouncing back and forth here, right behind, trying to find out who's going to have the speed to make a pass himself.
Look at some of these guys going all the way down onto the apron there to try to make some time. You saw McCarty do it a lap ago. A couple of these cars further up right there. That's Michael McCarthy in that 22 car going all the way down almost in the grass, trying to find a little extra time to get themselves up the field.
But not quite an onboard camera. Now it is with the Invet's in-car camera and our driver camera for Michael McCarthy. One thing McCarty rather, is gonna have to watch out for. It's the transition from the apron back up to the racing surface. Once these tires get some wear into them, it's gonna be a lot more difficult than what it is right now, just 11 laps in.
For sure, for now, everyone's staying together, but as mentioned, once the tires wear, that's when this pack is going to start to break apart. You're going to see some of the guys in the back start to fall off. And you kind of got to play a balancing act of, keeping yourself up front in this main group so you have the draft to fight for the lead and for the win of this race, while also not burning your stuff up too bad that it's going to drop you back later on.
Bontrager with a charge around the outside now for Ellingson. We'll see if this line will work for him this time by. It's fading ever so slightly off of the rear quarter panel, and Drabick now all over the back bumper. Merritt Morton back there laying in weight as well. Might be best for him to try to make a move around the outside of Drabick, follow up with Bontrager, electing to stay down low though.
Drabick was kind of taking a peek to the inside of Ellingson there in the 27, but thought better of sending it down into the 3 wide. Those two guys are looking really low into the corner every time. They don't want to ride that car up the racetrack. They want the kind of shallower entry there so that no one can try to get under them and try to force that move on the inside.
Sky, although tire fair isn't as big of a factor here tonight, you still have to pay attention to stuff like that. That's the that line choice, a separation of 10 feet just up and down the racetrack through the corners can be the difference of a couple tenths of a second per lap whenever it comes to a long run. And of course, Friday night's notorious for green flag racing, shaping up already to be none other than the same.
Absolutely. We ran about the full race green last week at Milwaukee. We're going to see if we can do that again here at Vegas. Right now, field's starting to single file out, so it's looking pretty good for that. McCarty still sitting pretty in P1 on lap 15. Bontrager, Ellingson, Drabick, Morton back there, the rest of your top 5, trying to get speed to do something. David Duke not had a great start to this race, started on pole, falling back to 6th.
Still up here in the top 10, so it could be a lot worse for Duke. I'll tell you who's really happy to see this battle in the rearview mirror is Levi McCarty in the 24. Ellingson, Bontrager, they have not left each other at all this race.
No, they've been fighting each other what feels like all 17 laps now, and Ellingson still trying to get a move going to the inside of Bontrager, but it's not happening. That 49 car started second, still running second up there, running higher than pretty much every car behind him as well, especially on entry to that corner. He's looking kind of up towards the middle. He's entering a lot later. Difference in line there compared to that single file pack behind him.
However, sandwiched in between two of our bigger movers this race, McCarty and Ellingson up 5 positions. Obviously, McCarty can't really go any further up the field. Ellingson could make it 7 if he can find some pace to get around the 49. But back to our pole setter here, the 79 of Duke. He's fallen back behind 5 drivers. McCarty, Bontrager, Ellingson, Drabick, and Barrett Morton. And he's being hunted now by McCarthy and Mullins.
Yeah, 22 car is trying to get a little up to the inside of that 78, but he can't do it again. Really interesting to see that you can make that bottom line work, but you can also do what Bontrager's doing and run a little further up. 22 once again is going to try to get in, but he just doesn't have the bite on entry to get that car stuck down under the 78. He'll have to re-rack and try something else.
Meanwhile, the 78 now looking to the outside of Barrett Morton. Not going to get the run that he needed to quite make a pass, but Morton has to check up to the 07 of Drabick. That's going to allow David Duke to make his way around. Now all over the back bumper of Drabick, looking to the outside there as well.
Now we're going side by side up here for P3. Bontrager's gotten clear. He's looking more towards Levi McCarty up there in front. And it's Duke and it's Drabick back here racing for P4. Drabick starting to fall a little bit if Duke can make this move on the outside.
Nearly contact between the 78 and the 07 through 1 and 2. That's going to give Duke the advantage he needed now to the outside of Jacob Ellingson for third.
That top line can work pretty well. You're seeing it out of the 78 right now. He'll pull into line behind the 27 and he'll try the switch back to the bottom. Not happening. He'll stay in line for fourth. I wonder if Barrett Morton's going to try that move up high before too long.
It would make sense. He got a perfect seat to watch it work. But now seeing Duke fall back to being door-to-door contact now between Duke and Drabick. Both drivers able to collect it. Drabick got sent down nearly to the apron on the backstretch. Recovered well, and now back into the door of Duke once more through 3 and 4. It's already getting heated up here in the top 5.
And now here comes Barrett Morton through onto that top line. He'll look to the high side on Drabick. Gonna try to follow what David Duke has just done to get himself up to fourth. McCarthy's running down to the bottom, but it's Morton up there on the outside of Drabick, and I think he's going to get the spot because he's faster running that middle.
Drabick gets a little bit of a bump from the 22 on the exit. It's not going to work here as Barrett Morton will have the momentum to get clear of the 07 before the start-finish line.
A couple more drivers back there trying that higher line. You look back to the 87 and Jake Ham, Michael McCarthy also jumping up there, trying to get around Jamie Mullins in the 66, riding the bottom. More cars starting to realize that that middle line's pretty quick and they can make some time from it.
So as we're about a quarter of the way through the race, we've switched already. It was a little bit of sideways action there right in front of Jake Ham. Couldn't quite see it, but the 22 got a little loose on corner exit there. But as I was saying, now that we're about a quarter of the way through this race, we've migrated from the bottom line being dominant to that middle line now being dominant. We have one more to go. Will we see these drivers start to move up and hug the wall through the corners and keep that momentum coming down through the tri-oval and across the backstretch?
One thing I've noticed as we've hit lap 25 is look at how many gaps there are between the cars now. For the first about 15 laps or so of this race, you had almost the entire field within 2 seconds of each other. Now you've got 7 cars within 2 seconds of the leader. The back end of the field, 4.5, 5 seconds out from McCarty. So these gaps have really started to open as the tires have started to wear, and this race has gone a little more stretched out, a little more single file here.
McCarty using this time to his advantage as he's seen all of these battles forming in the rearview mirror. It's given him a chance with all the clean air that he could ask for to put down a 7/10 of a second gap to second place of Bontrager, who's been under fire pretty well the entire time, either from Jacob Ellingson or Patrick Drabick, who has now fallen back to 6th.
David Duke, oh, he's going to make contact with Ellingson, and they're both going to save it. No, he's going to get into Ellingson again, and Ellingson hard into the outside wall.
Just nowhere to go, and somehow still under green flag conditions. 2 trucks spun out, one in pit road, one on the infield grass. Ellingson and Ham both collected in that, and now we finally have a caution.
Man, Jake Ham won 2 races this season. Caught up in that. You're going to get the V-Speed replay here. Saved it the first time, and then Duke came back up into him again. Contact with Drabick hard into Barrett Morton as well. Nowhere for Jake Ham to go.
Man, you have to think if Drabick had just been running the middle line, maybe went to the outside, Ellingson had a shot to recover on that second bump. We'll take another look here. There's the initial contact. Down to the apron goes Duke. Then back up, and there's the contact from Drabick that kind of finished it all off. No chance to recover from that.
Yeah, looked like might have just came down a little bit there, racing deal, at least from that angle between those 2 cars, fighting for the same position, and then chain reaction. One car trying to get back on the racetrack, one car still trying to save it.
Now on board, further back in the pack with Jake Ham, who had the big hit on Ellingson. You see all the action in front, and right into the side of Barrett Morton. Ham just, like you said, nowhere to go, no real time to react to that. As that green flag was still out, Ham had to do everything he could to keep as much speed as possible. Otherwise, you risk losing the draft and staying with the lead pack. So that's a tough call to make if you're the driver of the 87.
Yeah, I mean, he's won 2 of our 4 races this season. This is going to hurt him for sure in the point standings. He's going to have a lot of damage to fix if he wants to get back out there.
And we have every single truck now down pit road, getting some fresh Goodyear tires and some fresh Sunoco fuel. Sky, what do you say we take a chance here to thank one of our sponsors here of our Friday night series with Lincoln Tech? Lincoln's mission is to provide superior education and training to our students for in-demand careers in a supportive, accessible learning environment, transforming students' lives and adding value to their communities. They are one of the largest automotive technology schools in the nation with 23 campuses. They are the title sponsor of the Spring Series and a very large partner of Goat Locker Racing. 27 of Ellingson repping that Lincoln Tech paint scheme, who we just saw get caught up in that. Keep an eye on him, see if he'll be able to get that damage repaired and back out on track at all this afternoon. But from the hit that he got from the 87 of Ham, that's going to be tough to recover from.
Yeah, he took a couple hits too. One with Barrett Morton, one to the wall. It's going to be a lot of damage, a lot of time on pit road for all 3 of those cars. Ham, Ellingson, and Barrett Morton involved in that. Order out of the pits is going to be Levi McCarty out in the lead. Bontrager, Duke, Mullins, McCarthy, and Peters, your top 6 coming out of pit road.
Doubled back up now. We back to green flag conditions here just momentarily. Levi McCarty, some of his competition's been taken out.
Yeah, that was some of the fastest cars in the field getting heavily involved in that, and that's really going to be kind of a comeback effort for some of these guys. Even guys like Patrick Drabick had to take a lot of repair trying to fix that car and stay on the lead lap. So definitely going to see some guys try to have to fight back to the front here, and some new guys elevated kind of into the top 10.
Craig Bontrager is happy for that caution, being able to get back up here to this front row for the restart. Maybe a little less to battle with here, as the pace truck should come down. No, one more time around. There it comes. Way late on the pace truck there, but into the InVets restart zone. Levi McCarty will take the green flag, and we're back.
Good jump for McCarty. Out front, David Duke also going to get pretty good down there in second. Bontrager, as he has all race, looking a little bit higher, running more towards the middle to try and make some time on exit.
Jamie Mullins now all over the back bumper of Bontrager. Timothy Peters has made his way up into the top 5 now after that restart, up 10 positions so far this race. Good pit strategy, or good pit time rather, for the 46 team, able to get him back out on track, collecting a couple spots there. McCarty, though, got a massive jump off that restart, about 3 car lengths separating first and second. As we're on the InVets in-car camera now with Timothy Peters, taking a look at the back of that Save 22 Chevy Silverado.
Another car up 10, actually up 11 now, is going to be Chance Taylor. Started all the way out back in 19th. He's gotten that car running up in 8th. So another car benefiting from a good pit stop and some misfortune in front of him to really move himself up through the field. He's having a good race. Restarted in 9th up to 8th, now looking on Stephen McDonald for P7.
Meanwhile, a change for second place. Bontrager took away the inside line from David Duke. Instead of using that outside line, he's put himself back up here in second, looking to chase down McCarty. There's a side-by-side battle right behind Duke now. Or right behind Mullins, rather, for Peters and McCarthy in the 22 on the inside. Nearly side-by-side, a little bit further back for the 92 and the 14. And, oh, 3 wide now coming off of turn number 2. Mullins stuck in the middle.
Near contact there with that 22 car. McCarthy on the bottom, and now there is contact with the 22 and McCarthy on the bottom, but they both get it straightened out. Oh. And now there's contact with the 92 of Stubblefield, and that'll send the 66 of Mullins backwards.
Down to the infield grass he goes, out of the way of the racing line. Green flag stays out. No damage. However, that is a lot of ground lost there for Jamie Mullins. He'll need a caution, certainly, to catch back up to this pack.
Absolutely. He's going to be way out of it now.
Now it's all about David Duke on the inside. Timothy Peters on the outside. 22, McCarthy behind as well, swerving all around, trying to find somewhere to go. Peters gets the momentum out of 2, and he clears.
They're still going at it side-by-side back there. Stubblefield now moved himself up to 4th, trying to stay ahead of David Duke right now. While these guys are battling, that is allowing the 2-car tandem of McCarty and Bontrager to get back clear, that gap under 0.2 of a second for the lead.
Peters having a good gap of clean air on the front nose of the 46. And still a side-by-side battle, 2 rows deep. It's the 92 of Stubblefield, the 36 of George Jewell. Then right behind, it's Drabick and Kostick.
Really good run for the 92 there. Duke kind of had a bad entry that bottled up McCarthy behind him. The 92 sent it deep into the corner, and they're going to go 3 wide. Back down into turn 1. 92 forced all the way to the high side. With Duke and McCarthy on the inside, we're going to stay 3 wide. Out of turn 2, not decided yet down the back straightaway, but Stubblefield's got the advantage into 3, and Duke's going to be the one who drops out of the middle.
I wouldn't even so much say he dropped out of the middle, as he's still side by side right now with Stubblefield. Now 3 wide once more for Duke, stuck in the middle. He was a ping pong ball there the last time around in this situation. Patrick Drabick on the inside here. Good hard racing through 1 and 2. Drabick falls back slightly, no longer 3 wide, but 2 by 2 for 3 rows here. And Duke takes away the inside line. Said, I'm tired of this.
Stubblefield, another big mover in this race, up 12-5 so far on lap 40. Really doing a good job to kind of hold that outside here if he can stay ahead of Duke in the 78.
Stubblefield with a good run so far. A couple other notable mentions here. George Jewell, Chance Taylor in the top 10 on the back half. They are both up 10 positions as well. But this competition up here still just heating up between the 78 and the 92. Drabick starting to catch back up. We'll see 3 wide, I'm sure, again, if he can find a gap to put the 07 in.
You got to remember, Drabick started at the back on this run. He spent 50 seconds in the pits fixing damage on that last caution, went all the way to the rear. He's already driven that thing back up to 7th. A lot of speed in that 07 car, but you got to wonder, if this thing goes green, has he pushed the tires a bit too hard?
He's taken advantage of some situations that turned out to not be too threatening on the tire wear. However, we are starting to see a large gap starting to develop, separating the top 4 from the rest of the field. David Duke leading the charge here for the second group that has formed. Now the 92 of Stubblefield has some momentum around the outside. We'll see those two side by side here. Oh, nearly contact there on the left rear, or right rear quarter of David Duke. Patrick Drabick, he's now on the inside of Stubblefield. Whew. This is exciting, Sky. Nearly halfway through this race.
Yeah, Stubblefield is starting to fall off, it feels a little, on that top. He doesn't have the speed up there that he did earlier. Peters got around him, Duke's around him, now it's Drabick looking around him. And if George Jewell has anything to say about it, he'll get around him too shortly. He might need to find a hole and just ride it out on the inside here.
It's tough to do when you've got 2 that are battling it out so hard in front of you. That gap can close for a half a second, and you're just slightly too late. You see George Jewell starting to close up to the back end of Drabick now. He's got to be thinking about when he can make a move here on either one of these drivers. Keeping an eye on both sides. You might just have to shoot it through the middle here, Sky.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if this battle keeps going side by side, might have a shot here. Stubblefield's going to finally get that hole to get down to the bottom, and he'll stick it in the line in P7. Jewell might try to look at the inside of the 92 here. He will, but he doesn't have anything to actually get the move done. He'll stay back in 8th. We'll see if he tries to force one around the top or if he tries to get Stubblefield on the bottom of the racetrack.
Well, no shortage of action as there's another battle right behind between Chance Taylor and Michael Kostick. The 14 of Taylor to the outside, Kostick on the inside. 1 right behind, Mike Browning in the 4, also looking to take advantage if either one of these drivers make a mistake. James Kaufman right behind as well. And it's pretty well single-filed out throughout the rest of the field, but besides these 2 and Stubblefield and Jewell right in front.
That battle for the top 4 has been steadily tightening up there. McCarty, Bontrager, McCarthy, and Peters have really had a pull away of about a second there from David Duke in the 78. No one's gotten side by side yet, but I think give them a couple more laps and they'll be a little more racy up here in this top few positions. McCarthy running opposite lines to Bontrager, where McCarthy is right on the bottom as you enter the corner. Bontrager doing what he has all race, entering a little higher. This might be the 22's time. He's got the inside down into 1.
McCarthy to the inside. He's got the advantage right now, but Bontrager will have the drive off. Timothy Peters laying in wait. Try to catch back up to these 2 as they've driven away just ever so slightly. Bontrager way higher than what we've seen him so far. That's going to give McCarthy a little bit extra room on the corner exit, but not enough to get in front of the 49 and take the second spot.
Great job by Bontrager to hold that off as we hit lap 50, halfway to go in this race. That might help Timothy Peters out a little bit. McCarthy used up his tires, couldn't get a move going. We'll see if the 46 is able to capitalize on that and get his own move up here onto the podium.
Peters able to close that gap. He's not cutting the apron like the two in front. Bontrager also electing to stay off of the apron. Now, Sky, one thing I didn't get any data on pre-race here. We've got the 100% fuel load tonight, but I don't know if these drivers will be able to make all the way to the end of this race. I feel like we're still going to have one more pit cycle come through.
I think we will. From experience, typically the fuel tank here seems to run about, I would say, 60 to 65 laps in the truck at Vegas, just from previous races that I have ran here. We'll see if that's the case tonight. It might be a little different with this setup, but we'll see how it shakes out. One thing I'm interested in is those cars who are running the bottom on the front straightaway. It doesn't really save fuel. Gets you a little more time, but it can also wear out the tires because it's a much harder turn down the straightaway than you'd be making otherwise. So it's good for short run speed, but it can kind of be a negative over the course of a run because it really wears and also heats up those tires.
On board riding with Chuck Phelps now in the 75 machine, back in the 15th position. But again, no shortage of action. He's been battling for a position here with James Goshen in the 85 right in front, trying to fend off Tyler Justice behind in the 33, while he has two battling ahead. That's Stephen McDonald and James Kaufman in the 25 and the 68. So now it's almost three separate groups at this point. We have the top four battling for position. We've got 5 through roughly 11 all in a group, and then 12th through 16th all together. From 17 on back, a little bit further back.
Yeah, and that's what happens at this racetrack once you get about 25 laps into a run like we are right now. The packs start to break up. Smaller packs start to form, and even as you get further along into this, even smaller packs are going to form as these cars continue to break off from one another, and then it turns into a more typical kind of intermediate race compared to the kind of draft fest that you see in the first 20 or so laps.
While we're single filed out, let's go ahead and give another shout out to Save 22. Save 22 is a 501c3 organization dedicated to preventing suicide among veterans, active duty personnel, and first responders. Our unwavering mission extends to 4 critical pillars: shield, assist, volunteer, and educate, otherwise known as SAVE. I'd like to thank SAVE for everything they do here for Goat Locker and in the real world, being ever so important. As there is contact now for Ellingson on the outside wall, loose out of 4. He's going to lose all that ground that he just made up.
Yeah, Ellingson is going to go all the way back. This car is, I believe, 11 laps down at the minute, so he's kind of just running for vibes and points and hoping somebody else has an issue in front of him. That is going to not help his case, because I imagine that car already has some damage on it that he couldn't get fixed. Yeah, we'll see the V-Speed replay here as he's going along with David Duke, and ooh, almost some contact there, too.
All over that left rear quarter panel there of the 78. Still, again, another big bump through the corner, got Duke sideways, able to collect it, but subsequently put himself in the wall. That did allow Patrick Drabick to get around the 78, as well as Chance Taylor and Michael Kostick. Duke falls back to 9th from that.
You know, I got a feeling that might just be related to that caution we had on lap 25 where Ellingson was turned off the nose of David Duke. He tried to get a little bit of revenge. I don't think it worked particularly well for him there, considering he is now 12 laps down, but he tried it.
It's typically not in the nature of Ellingson to go for something that intentionally. I think he's just trying to drive as hard as he can and prove that he's better than what happened 30 laps ago or so. But now we've got a battle forming here for the third place position, where Timothy Peters has made his way back up to a podium position, got around Michael McCarthy. McCarthy got loose off of the exit of turn number 2, giving Peters a little bit of leeway here. Now he can focus on catching up to the 49 again. But meanwhile, Levi McCarty a full second out over second place, as we have clicked away 60 laps out of 100.
And as we cross 30 laps into this run, everyone's spreading out a lot more. 1 second gap to the leader, half a second behind that, half a second to the next couple cars behind that, and then 1 second between Drabick, who's gotten it all the way back up to 5th, and Timothy Stubblefield in 6th. So these packs are really starting to break apart now. Closest battle on the racetrack is 11th at the minute. That's McDonald back there. He's racing with Tyler Justice and David Duke trying to recover from that contact.
So Duke driving with a vengeance now, as he's fallen back to the grips of just barely being in the top 15. Right now battling for the 13th position. Those tires, a lot of extra wear from that big slide through the corner. Not able to put all of the power down. Duke at a massive disadvantage now.
Absolutely. Oh, look at that. He's going to come into the pit lane. David Duke, hard left turn into the pits. Nearly lost it trying to get down there as well. We'll see if he takes 4 tires here. Trying to split the remainder of the race almost in half on lap 63.
So from this point, we know they can make it on fuel. A lot of these other drivers, if your data is correct, Sky, we're probably looking around the lap 85 to 90, as now our leader, Levi McCarthy, is making, or McCarty rather, is making his way down pit road. That hands over the lead to Bontrager, and Peters in second. Drabick back up to a podium spot now.
And now that the leader has pit, I think you're going to see a lot of cars come down, sort of a game of follow the leader here with most of the field. Bontrager is going to come around. He'll stay out. Peters, Drabick, McCarthy, Stubblefield, everybody in the top 10 stays out. So maybe a bit of an earlier stop than some people were expecting out of Levi McCarty.
Certainly more of a early stop than I was expecting. I was just in the middle of saying expect to see around lap 80 to 90 at the end of the fuel run. Granted, tire strategy being a big part of tonight at this 1.5-mile track. It's a call that I would not be familiar with, but not a bad one in my book.
We're going to have to check lap times here and see how much faster these new tires actually are. David Duke is going to come around turn 4 right now, so we'll be able to compare what David Duke runs this time with Bontrager. And it's about a half a second faster. I don't think that 78 car is fully up to speed yet. So I think he'll go probably a little faster again next time around. But for now, half a second faster for David Duke on those fresh tires.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait until he gets a full temperature in the tires. Right now, still a little bit cooler. Track temperature has come up 2 degrees to 84 degrees now. It's not a major factor in this, still with no sun beating down on the track. That helps a lot here on these night races. Peters still has half of a second to catch up to the 49 machine. Drabick, no factor right now for a top 2 spot, 1.5 seconds back.
Well, Levi McCarty just got a full lap, flying lap in, and he ran 2 straight 30.6s, which is 1.4 faster than the average of your top 5 right now. So that's the difference on tires. For Levi McCarty, at least compared to Bontrager and Peters and Drabick, it's about 1.4 seconds a lap taking this undercut.
So McCarty did have the right call there. David Duke also on fresh tires, still turning 31.3 second lap time, so possibly damage on the 78 machine. We'll have to keep a closer eye on him as we go through the rest of this race. Now, the 25 of Kaufman coming down pit road. Be our third taker for some fresh tires and a top off on fuel. A mixed strategy throughout this entire field.
There's Timothy Peters coming down in a big late turn in for Dravik, who also locks it up, trying to get that thing on the pit road. We might have to check a potential speeding penalty with that entry for Dravik, but both of those two are in the pits along with George Jewell further back.
Keeping an eye here on Dravik's time in the box. We'll see if he spends any longer in his pit stall here as the left side goes up on the 46 machine and away he goes. Dravik nearly completed with the pit stop and no penalty on the 07. He got down below that 50 miles per hour. I am shocked, Sky. He came in hot.
He did that. You could see the car hook left as he tried to get it slowed down. Joining him in the pits, Michael McCarthy, James Goshen, both making their stops right now.
Craig Bontrager still electing to turn laps as he's got the lead by 3 seconds now. Michael Kostick not able to close up the gap. He elects to come down pit road this time. Timothy Stubblefield, he'll come around to take another lap. Second, Chance Taylor follows suit. Tyler Justice remains out there as well.
That's Browning, McDonald, both in with Kostick in the 3. Leader of the cars that has come down right now, still Levi McCarty. Got a pretty good gap going over Timothy Peters. Oh, Bontrager's coming in, and he almost lost it on entry.
So good save from Bontrager to not go sideways through the pits and able to get it down under that 50-mile-an-hour pit speed limit as well. So Timothy Stubblefield will claim a lap lead here tonight. Chance Taylor still out on track. Tyler Justice still out on track. Matt Knight is coming around. So we only have 4 drivers now that are on the longest stints. Jamie Mullins in the 66. He's a couple laps behind on this. Looks like last time in, though, just took fuel. So still on the same tires as the top 4. Be interesting to see where these leaders cycle out to, and it looks like actually McCarty in 6th now after pitting earlier than everybody else. Patrick Dravik is in the 7th position with the 07. Timothy Peters hot on his tail in the 46. Those two pit together there about 4 laps ago this time by. George Jewell, who pit a little bit before them, has fallen back behind those two to the 9th position.
These tires are falling off from their peak a little fast. Peters and Dravik are slowing each other up last time around because they're side by side. But when they were single file, it was a 30.4, and oh, Dravik's gonna have a lap car giving him problems here. It was a 30.4 for Dravik and Peters. It was a 31.1 for McCarty. The gap on tires is 7 laps. So already starting to fall off for the 24 car. Car around on pit entry. That's the 44 of Chance Taylor.
Chance Taylor goes sideways into the pits, makes contact with the inside wall. The front end doesn't look too bad, though. Just very untimely for that to happen. He just got passed by the leaders. He was that lap car that kind of slowed up Patrick Dravik there. On board now. Just a little bit too early on the apron, could not recover in time, and there's a slight scrape with the wall. It's not going to be anything that will really affect the aero. He just lost a lot of time on the field. Timothy Stubblefield makes his way down finally, and that should complete most of our pit cycle, besides the 66 of Jamie Mullins, who's going to collect some laps led now.
Yep, Justice Knights, all those cars came down as well, so it is just Jamie Mullins out here in front as Stubblefield takes his service. And while Mullins is still running around in the lead, I want to tell you about another one of our partners here at Goat Locker Racing, that being Operation Valor Racing. They are a race team with the goal of fielding a truck next season in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Veteran-based and focused on helping veterans all across the racing world, they are also heavily involved with many veteran nonprofits to raise both awareness and funds. And they're the title sponsor of the series you're watching right now, the Operation Valor Racing Truck Series. So I want to thank them for all they do. They've put on a pretty good one so far. Mullins still in the lead, still hasn't hit.
So 1 lap led. He got his bonus point here for the night. Be interesting to see how long Mullins tries to stretch this out, as he has a 8-second gap to the 24 of Levi McCarty. But McCarty on much fresher tires, nearly 30 laps of difference between the 66 and the 24. So McCarty will assume the lead eventually, either by pit cycle for Mullins or just outright speed.
Well, the gap is closing to Timothy Peters and Patrick Drabick, as Mullins will pit this time and also get loose. Tricky pit road to get into here, but he made it under 50 miles an hour. Drabick and Peters were both over half a second faster than Levi McCarty last time around, so that gap is really closing up there. I don't think it's going to be too long with the way the tire wear is shaking out before one of those cars can try to bring a fight to the 24.
So they've got about a 5 to 6 lap difference on the 46 and the 07 on the tires to the 24. Eventually, that's going to even out, and that'll be right around that 25 lap area. They're going to have to make up this ground before they hit that mark if they really want to challenge McCarty for the lead.
Yeah, and I think McCarty is probably saving a little bit too right now, because while these two are still consistently about 3-4 tenths quicker every lap at least, McCarty kind of hit the wall a little quicker. He was running 31.1s around lap 10 or so. Meanwhile, Peters and Drabick are on lap 11, and they're still running under 31. So I think McCarty kind of turned off the jets a little early here, try and make sure he has something left at the end.
Which is a great call by the 24 team. Right now, the 46 and the 07 need to start thinking about working together. Try to close up that gap, as we're at 19 to go in this race. They keep battling back and forth like they have been. It might be all said and done. Ooh, nearly contact on the back end of the 07 from the 66. Jamie Mullins is able to get clear to the inside here, as he's going to split these two that are battling for second place. Much fresher tires on the 66 though, so he should be no factor here once he gets around the 46 of Peters.
Well, this is going to be a problem because it's going to slow these guys up. They're not going to have the preferred line. They're going to lose a little bit of time with this car getting past them. They're going to have a little bit of a tow down the straightaway, but dirty air will play a factor into the corner. McCarty's going to heat those tires up a little bit, wear them out a little more than he would otherwise, running that inside line, trying to get all the speed that he can as the gap with the 46 is down under 2 seconds.
Peters has just barely gotten inside that 2-second gap, but if you take a look and keep an eye on that ticker, it's closing pretty quickly. You have to think that McCarty is in at least a mediocre style saving run here. Now on board on the InVets in-car camera with Timothy Peters. You can see McCarty up there just ahead of him. It doesn't look like much, but that is 1.5 seconds of separation.
That 46 car is still closing. We're going to see what the lap times are this time around. The last time it was about 0.3 of a second, the decider between the two. This time around, McCarty 31.624, Peters 31.294. So that gap is coming down.
Patrick Drabick follows behind Peters with a 31.368, so also slower than the 46 right now. Losing some ground there to second place. I don't know how this race is going to shake out. I don't know if Peters has enough time to catch up to the 24. It sure looks like it on paper. But as McCarty is starting to inch closer to that 25-lap mark where we see the most fall off and kind of start to plateau on the tires, it's going to be a threat whenever that 46 catches up. McCarty's going to have to make that truck as wide as the track here at Las Vegas.
And while we're talking about Drabic gaining some time, we can tell you a little bit about the sponsor on the side of that car, that being Jam Printing and Promotions. Since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They have been with Goat Locker Racing since the very beginning. They're local and veteran certified, and when they do well, they do good in the community. We thank Jam Printing and Promotions for everything they do for Goat Locker Racing and for veterans at large, and their driver, Patrick Drabic, right now is on the podium.
The 07 also has last week's winner, Jake Ham, hot on his tail with a lot fresher tires here. Ham was in the wall there out of turn number 2 last time by. Splits between second and third place, just as we saw Mullins do. And if you take a look there, that gap is still getting smaller for first and second, within 3/4 of a second now for McCarty and Peters. Ooh, a big sin to the inside with Ham and Peters there. And the exit turn number 4. That'll slow the 46 up just a touch here. Could be helpful down the backstretch with a little bit of a draft. But ultimately, that dirty air through the corners is going to be the demise of the 46.
The gap is closing in multiple ways. It's closing between the cars on the racetrack, but it's also closing in terms of lap times. Levi McCarty, 31.744. Peters, 31.613. So we'll need about a 10th quicker for the 46 last time around.
Still making ground, though, and that's what matters most, as Ham now slides up in front of the leader, Levi McCarty. He'll put some air on the nose of the 24. That's going to help Peters now. Where it just hurt, it's playing in his favor. So we're now 10 to go here. This time by, McCarty will make it 9 on the way through turns 3 and 4.
Absolutely. These guys are really starting to close in. It's going to be, about another 10 for Timothy Peters. 2 tenths, though, for Patrick Drabic. More speed in that 07 car potentially right now. Don't count him out just yet.
Makes you wonder, Sky, if Peters is driving a little too aggressively, if he's going to have enough tire to complete the pass here once he finally catches up to the 24. Like you mentioned, Drabic also closing that gap from behind. It's starting to shape up to be a 3-car finish here.
And last time around, McCarty faster than Peters. They were almost equal. Drabic, on the other hand, still up a 10th. That third place 07 car might be able to get around Peters here before this is done. And if he is able to make a pass, get around that 46, it could be what gets McCarty the win of the race.
Drabic will have to focus very hard on saving enough tire. Don't want this battle to last too long for second place. Man, this is coming down to the wire. As always here on Friday nights, I feel like we haven't had a race that was just a complete blowout by any means whatsoever. Carty's in a great spot right now to kind of change that. It'll still be a battle for second regardless what happens at the front.
No, we've had a lot of great races. Levi McCarty has had a lot of great speed this season, but he hasn't been able to get the win of any of those races yet. Right now, with 6 to go at Vegas, it's looking like his time. He's still a little faster than Timothy Peters on that last lap, and if he can hold that, I think he's going to get him, especially with how quickly Drabic has been able to get to the bumper of that 46 car. One move from Drabic might be all it takes to get McCarty enough space to drive it home. 5 to go at the line.
Now, Sky, as we sit here and watch this, you have to think as a driver, if you're the 46 of Peters right now, you saw that gap close rapidly. Meanwhile, McCarty could have been in a full save mode, Now for the last couple of laps, that gap hasn't hardly moved but a tenth of a second. Do you settle for a second place finish here and defend against Drabic, or are you still pushing as hard as you can to try to take home a win here tonight?
I think if I'm Peters, you gotta go for the win. I mean, there's nothing else you can really do. Checkers or wreckers, you know? I don't think he quite has the speed to get up there right now, but he's certainly gotta try. I don't think he can just sit back there and hang out and try to ride second. He's gotta do all he can, because you never know when McCarty can make a mistake.
And you never know when Drabic will catch up and get to the inside. As he takes a slight look to the inside, Peter closes the door. As we'll come around here, McCarty will make it 3 to go. Race almost completed here. It's a battle for a podium position. McCarty leads the way as he has for most of this race. Peters and Drabic battling it out for second. Fourth place, nearly 5 seconds back from third.
Peters is still closing, but he's just not closing enough. He needs more laps, and he doesn't have them with 2 to go. Levi McCarty looking like he's going to make that undercut work perfectly for him. Hits the line on the apron. 2 to go for the 24 car. 4.5 tenths in the lead of this race.
A great strategy call coming from the pit box of the 24. The 46 and the 07 nearly on the same call. As we come through turns 3 and 4 here. Coming across the tri-oval. McCarty will see that white flag in the air. Everything from now is official. Who will it be? McCarty, Peters, or Drabic? We'll find out as they'll come out of turn number 2 down the backstretch one more time. Doesn't look like it'll be a challenge for first. McCarty just has to make 2 more corners here safely. Peters has to keep the 07 from getting around, and he'll do exactly that as Levi McCarty will take home the win here in Las Vegas for race number 5. Peters and Drabic second and third.
Levi McCarty leads 81 laps and gets his first win of the Operation Valor Racing Truck Series season. At a great speed, he's finally going to get it into victory lane.
League rookie of Timothy Peters up 13 positions in tonight's race from 15th to 2nd. Patrick Drabic tied for 2nd in the qualifying effort. Ultimately got the 3rd place starting position and finishes right where he started. Another great week for the 07 team. As Levi McCarty will bring it back down to that checkered line. We'll see the 24 burn it down here in celebration in the deserts of Nevada. After a quick photo opportunity.
Of course.
Sky, that's one of the crazier stat lines so far this season. 81 laps led here on this 1.5-mile track. Levi McCarty has to be happy about the performance tonight, but we'll catch up with him in just a few minutes as we'll take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with our post-race coverage of the Goat Locker Racing Operation Valor Truck Series right here on V-Speed.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
And we're back live for post-race coverage of the Operation Valor Racing Truck Series on Friday nights for Goat Locker Racing. We'll get right into our results as we saw the top three cross the line. Levi McCarty taking the gold trophy home with the 24 machine, up 5 positions on the night. Timothy Peters will take home second. A great night for the league rookie, just could not quite get back up to the leader. Patrick Drabick will take home the third place position, followed up by Craig Bontrager in the 49. Michael Kostick will take home the fifth position, up 12 positions on the night, followed up by the 4 of Mike Browning, up 10. Michael McCarthy, he'll fall back a couple spots in the 22 to take home the 7th spot, followed by the 33 of Tyler Justice in 8th. George Jewell in the 36 will take home the 9th spot on the night. And last but not least in our top 10, Stephen McDonald in the 68.
In the rest of your field tonight, 11th place is going to be Chance Taylor in the 14, Timothy Stubblefield in the 92 in 12th, James Kaufman in the 25, 13th, James Goshen in the 85, 14th, Jamie Mullins in the 66, 15th, David Duke, Matt Knights, Jake Ham, Chuck Feltz, and Jacob Ellingson, the rest of your top 20 tonight. Last 2 cars on the field, Barrett Morton, Brandon Wallace, 21st and 22nd.
Don't recall ever seeing the 99 out on track, but only 1 caution on the night, 6 lead changes. But let's catch up with our race winner here, Levi McCarty in the 24, who takes 81 laps led and 5 positions gained. Levi, you've got Sky and Logan up here in the V-Speed booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. What's happening, guys?
Well, we watched you win a race here in Las Vegas. That's what's just happened. How's it feel, buddy? First race win of the new season. Got to be excited for that.
Feels great. Yeah, I feel like my finishes in this league haven't been representative of kind of what I'm capable of, and tonight I just came out and got the lead there early and didn't really feel like giving it up tonight. So yeah, I really got to shout out the setup. I mean, that McConey setup, that probably top 5, top 3, one of the best setups I've ever ran. So huge shout out to those guys. They did an incredible job on that particular set.
Well, you sure put it on display tonight. As mentioned, 81 laps led. Essentially the most this season so far of any of the races for one driver. Now, I'm most curious about the strategy call coming in about 7 to 8 laps sooner than your competition, and it obviously worked out here, that undercut paying off. Levi, who made that call, or was it just kind of on a whim?
Yeah, I just feel like I've gotten burned in a couple different races, just giving away control of the race, and I forget who it was there. Somebody that was running behind me pit, and I wanted to match it tonight and not give up any kind of control. I wanted, in a sense, to kind of have the bat in my hand and be able to do some damage there at the end. That setup liked to be driven pretty hard, so even in the first couple runs when we got around 25, 26 laps into the run, it felt really good. So I figured, if I'd rather shortcut it, get up front, and then take my chances with holding anybody off there at the end, and it worked out.
So with that said, I have one quick question for you, and then we'll see who you have to thank for tonight. But on that, we saw about a 3-second gap to second place. Peters was able to close that rather rapidly, and then you were able to hold it right at the half-second mark. Were you in a tire-saving mode there as you saw that gap and then finally picked it back up here within the last 7 to 10 laps or so?
Yeah, I mean, I was saving a little bit. I had, the relative up and was kind of watching it. It was at 5, then they worked it down to 3. then 2, and then I knew once they got to a second behind me, that it was going to be really tough because the tires were going to really start equaling out. And yeah, once they kind of hit that barrier, they couldn't make huge gains on me, and I was able to drive it for all it was worth and finish it off.
Well, it paid off for you regardless, Levi McCarty. Who do you have to thank for your success in this win here tonight?
Yeah, I this league is incredible. All these guys, just the production, everything that's put on with it. It's truly one of the best league racing experiences that is even possible in iRacing. So thanks to GLR and everybody involved. Lincoln Tech, Save 22. I see a ton of guys running those Save 22 schemes, and it's really cool to see that kind of dedication. Hidden Wit Brewery, Cruising Classics, Nasty's Restaurant and Bar, Glove Station. I saw the Goat Talk last night with those guys, and really cool that their new sponsor coming on. Invets, Operation Valor, Jam Printing and Promotions. The setup, again, from Maconi, incredible. Broadcast, thank you guys. One of the best shows. Just really happy, really satisfied to dominate one of these races. It's tough to do, so just really happy.
Well, you sure made it look easy, and although it was tough, you get a 1-week break before we come back. Levi, congratulations on tonight. We'll see you in Rockingham in 2 weeks.
Appreciate it.
Race winner Levi McCarty, again, 81 laps led. Incredible stat line there for the 24. But Sky, I believe you're standing by with our second place, Timothy Peters.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, Timothy, you got a copy.
I do.
It looked like you might catch up to McCarty, but you couldn't do it. Was there anything you think you could have done differently that would have given you the win?
Man, just maybe pitted a little earlier when Levi did. Like, he pitted kind of like at the perfect point to where you run out of tires, but you have a big enough gap with your laps to the end of the race to where, you know, you can keep second and third behind you by like half a second. The only thing I really was trying to do different is I was trying to enter kind of late and arc it down and hit like the center of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, like right at the bottom of the apron. And I mean, I was just trying everything, dude. Like, it was going pretty good. If I had some more laps, I probably would have chopped away a little bit more at the time. But we were coming after it for sure.
Was there a point in the run that you kind of had to factor in not just attacking McCarty in front, but defending Drabic, who was behind you as well?
Yeah, so my spotter and crew chief, Cody Anderson, he's awesome, dude. Strategy's always perfect. Like, he's a great guy. Shout out to him, seriously. He does a lot for me. But I was kind of 50-50. You know, I would attack for, 5 to 10 laps, and then it was, he would say, hey, just letting you know, Patrick's like, he cooled his tires off. So then I'd be like, all right, let me know what he's doing different, and then he'd be like, oh, he's entering a lane lower than us. So then I'd start kind of putting a little dirty air on him to kind of keep him back while I'm trying to chase McCarty and just trying to do a little back and forth.
Gotcha. Well, you finished second tonight, but you started all the way back in 15th. So tell me about driving up through the field.
Yeah, so obviously qualifying for me wasn't really good. I've just haven't had any good qualifying efforts so far this season. So I knew coming to Vegas we were going to do really good. I always really do really good here on the official races in Xfinity cars, trucks, everything. So starting 15th, I was like, I know it's kind of be a drafting track. There's going to be a lot of drafting, a lot of dirty air. If we can kind of just keep our nose clean and pass some trucks here and there, we'll be all right. And then obviously the strategy came into play, and it was, we were 7th, 6th, and then we come out 5th. And I was like, man, this is really where we need to be right now.
All right. Well, anyone you want to thank or shout out tonight?
Yeah, my mom, dad, and my brother, they're on their way down here to come visit. Obviously, my sponsors, everybody, Speakeasy Pen Emporium, Ackerman Seal Coating, Joe Gibbs Racing, all those guys that, watch my broadcast and, support me week in, week out, keep digging with Duke and Tight Lines Apparel. So, and you guys on the broadcast, you guys do an amazing job every week.
All right. Well, congrats on second place tonight, Timothy Peters.
Thank you, guys.
Well, we were talking to him. I think Logan has caught back up with our third place finisher tonight. That'd be Patrick Drabic.
Yes, I've gotten down here with the Jam Printing and Promotions 07 of Patrick Drabic. Patrick, another great race. No surprise here for that truck, but just not quite the race you were looking for to put it a little bit higher on the podium. What more did you need to get around that 46 and try to battle with McCarty?
Honestly, I think if you would have lent me Rudolph, and I would have been able to put Rudolph on the front of the truck to help pull it a little bit more, I think we would have had something for him.
Well, I think if you put a red nose sticker right on the
Oh,
front, it's about 5 horsepower.
I love it. I love
So
it.
keep that in mind for next time. But Patrick,
Uh,
you've had a solid start to the season so far. You're way up there in the points, and another great finish here tonight. You've got a week off next week, and then we're coming back at Rockingham. What are
yeah.
we going to expect out of the 07 once we get back to racing here in 2 weeks?
Well, I'll officially, answer your first question for you. I just got behind a little bit tonight, and I got wrapped up with the whole thing between Duke and Ellingson, and kind of got into that, and had to sit on pit road, get the truck fixed because Vegas is so aero dependent. Put me way back in the field, and I had to burn my stuff up to get up through the field. Kind of charged onto pit road, got caught TJ there, and had a fun little battle with him until we came up on some lap traffic, and I had to back out of it. And then from that point forward, it was just a matter of working with TJ and trying to catch up to Levi. And I really thought we had enough chops to get there. We just couldn't quite get there. But still a hell of a race. Whole lot of fun. It's great to, park the 07 Jam Printing and Promotions Chevy Silverado on another podium here. But looking forward to, the off week. Take a little downtime, refresh, recharge a little bit. Then, Rockingham's going to be a whole hell of a lot of fun.
It absolutely is. I've heard fables of that track and these trucks. I'm excited to be a part of it, to finally see it myself. Patrick, remind me, is this podium number 3 on the season already?
4. I've been on the podium 4 times now.
Well, again, a fantastic start to season 9, so can't complain with that by any means. But, Patrick, is there anybody else that you'd like to say thanks to for your 3rd place finish tonight?
Yeah, you think I'd be getting good at this. I seem to finish 3rd a lot. But no, iRacing and all the amazing things that they do for us, it is because of their platform that we're able to do what we do, which has helped so many veterans and first responders. And of course, the amazing donations that they make to our organization as well. Everyone that receives a sim rig from us gets a free year subscription. And oh, by the way, iRacing loads up their account with a couple $100 so they can buy cars and tracks and everything. Just an amazing organization that helps support our mission. Above the yellow line with Taylor Kitchen, I know she's busy as all get out down there in Daytona right now. I've seen a lot of the cool interviews she's doing. She was gracious enough to let me and Eddie hang out on Goat Talk on her platform, which has been a whole heck of a lot of fun. Sim Motion, again, they're the ones that, provide a lot of the equipment for our mobile simulator and also for the veteran sim rigs, and then, of course, Operation Valor. And man, McConey Setups. They've been putting some damn good setups underneath these trucks and the cars on Wednesday nights. This one was pretty much on rails, and it was a lot of fun to drive, and you could drive it on different lines and things like that. So big shout out to McConey Setups. And then, good old Jam Printing and Promotions. Hoodies should be in next week. And, good stuff, man. Good race here tonight. Looking forward to the off week.
It absolutely was. And I feel like you kind of started your question with an answer of why do you always seem to come in 3rd. It's because you put so many people ahead of you.
I don't think that's how that works.
Well,
that's
it
not how
worked
I
out here
want it to work.
tonight.
That's not how I want it to work.
You take some, you lose some. So
yeah, you lose more than you win in this business. That's for sure. But that's all right, man. We'll take these podium finishes. We'll keep in the hunt for the regular season championship. It's been a fantastic start for the entire series, man. These drivers, each and every Friday night that we get out here, is a blast to drive around. Congrats to Levi McCarty. He ran a hell of a race here tonight. He was the dominant truck for sure. So big shout out to him and the entire field.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations on 3rd place, Patrick, and your standings in the points at the moment. Take a well-deserved week off, buddy. We'll see you in a couple at Rockingham.
See you, bud.
That'll conclude our interviews with our podium finishers, and yet another fantastic race, this time on the West Coast, finally. Sky, what'd you think about tonight here in Las Vegas?
I think it was a great race. We had good action at the start of the race. We had a great strategy finish. Coming down to the end, it was a really good time.
It most certainly was, but ultimately that does conclude our coverage here for Goat Locker. Join us here again in 2 weeks as we give the Operation Valor Truck Series drivers a well-deserved week off. For everybody behind the scenes at Goat Locker, Patrick Drabick, Jamie Barkus, and everybody else back there. For everybody behind the scenes at V-Speed, Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, our producer, as always, Eddie Smith, and my colleague, Sky Shrek. My name is Logan Threlkeld. Thank you for watching tonight's broadcast, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time back on the East Coast as these drivers take on Rockingham in North Carolina. Good night, everybody.